I want to tell you about a man who was destroyed by unforgiveness until he realized that forgiving someone wasn't about them. It was about setting himself free. If you've been holding on to hurt that's eating you alive, stay with me. David's father left when he was 8 years old, not in a gentle way, not with an explanation, not with a goodbye. He just left, took his things, got in the car, drove away, and never came back for 28 years. David spent those 28 years carrying that abandonment like a stone in his chest. He told himself he didn't care, that his father's absence didn't matter, that he was fine without him. But he wasn't fine. He was angry. Deeply, bone-deeply angry at a man he barely remembered. That anger leaked into everything. His relationships, he could never fully trust a woman. Because if his own father could abandon him, what was to stop a girlfriend from doing the same? His work, he was driven by a need to prove he was worthy. To prove he didn't need anyone. To prove he was better than the man who left him. His faith, he struggled to believe God was a loving father, because the only father he knew had rejected him. The unforgiveness wasn't just about his dad anymore. It had become his identity. He was the abandoned son, the rejected one, the one nobody wanted to stay for. And then one day, his father reached out. 28 years later, a phone call, a voice David hadn't heard since he was a child. I know I have no right to ask, but I'm sick. I'm dying, and I need to see you. I need to apologize. I need to ask for your forgiveness before I go. David's first instinct was to hang up, to say no, to let his father die with the same rejection David had carried his whole life. It would have been fair. It would have been deserved. But something inside David, something that sounded like the Holy Spirit, whispered something different. Forgive him. Not for him, for you. David went to see his father. He wasn't ready. He didn't feel forgiving. He didn't feel generous, or kind, or any of the things you're supposed to feel when you forgive someone. He felt angry, hurt, betrayed, cheated out of a childhood, and a father and a sense of belonging. But he went anyway. His father was in a hospital bed, thin, weak, dying, and looking at him. David realized something shocking. His father was just a broken man, not a monster. Not some villain who had deliberately set out to hurt him. Just a man who made a choice he couldn't undo. And his father was terrified. Terrified of dying alone. Terrified of going to meet God with unforgiveness between them. Terrified of David's rejection in the same way. David had been terrified of his rejection his whole life. His father cried, apologized, said things David had needed to hear his whole life. I was wrong. It wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it. I was broken and I made you pay for my brokenness. And I'm so sorry. And David, standing there with 28 years of pain in his chest, made a choice. He forgave him. Not because his father deserved it. Not because the pain went away. Not because everything suddenly felt better. But because David realized something that changed his whole life. Unforgiveness was a prison, and he was the one locked inside. Every day he carried the anger. He was chained to his father. Every time he thought about the abandonment, he gave his father power over him. Every moment he refused to forgive, he was choosing to stay broken. And his father was just a dying man in a hospital bed. He had no power over David anymore. The only power he had was the power David kept giving him by refusing to let go. So David let go. It didn't happen all at once. Forgiveness wasn't a single moment where everything changed, but it was the beginning of freedom. After his father died, David didn't feel destroyed. He felt sad, but not destroyed. He felt relieved. He felt lighter. He felt like he had finally put down a weight he had been carrying his entire life. What David discovered changed how he understood God. God doesn't ask you to forgive because the person deserves it. God asks you to forgive because you deserve to be free. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't hurt them. It only destroys you. God doesn't ask you to forgive and forget. God asks you to forgive and be free. There's a difference. You can forgive someone and still not trust them. You can forgive someone and still have boundaries. You can forgive someone and still feel the pain of what they did. But you stop giving them power over your present. After his father died, David's relationships changed. He was able to trust women again, not because he forgot what happened, but because he understood that his father's choices weren't a reflection of his worth. His work changed. He stopped trying to prove something to a dead man. He started building something for himself. His faith changed most of all. He finally understood what it meant to have a loving Father in heaven, because he had learned to forgive the broken father on earth. If you're watching this and you're carrying unforgiveness, maybe it's towards someone who hurt you. Maybe it's towards someone who abandoned you. Maybe it's towards someone who did something so terrible you can't imagine ever forgiving them. I want you to know something. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's not saying what they did was okay. It's not saying they deserve a second chance. It's not saying you have to have a relationship with them. It's saying, I'm no longer going to give you power over my life. I'm no longer going to let your actions define my future. I'm no longer going to carry this stone in my chest. Forgiveness is the most selfish thing you can do, because it's entirely for you. God doesn't ask you to forgive because he loves them more than you. God asks you to forgive because he loves you, and he knows that unforgiveness is a prison, and he wants you free. So forgive them. Not for them, for you, for your peace, for your future, for the person you're trying to become. Let them go. And in letting them go, let yourself go too. Forgiveness is the hardest and most powerful thing you'll ever do. It's not about being nice, it's about being free. If this story reached you while you're carrying unforgiveness, subscribe. Because next week, I'm sharing another story about someone who discovered that holding on to bitterness was holding them back from becoming who God created them to be. You deserve to be free. Not because the person who hurt you deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. My name is Faith T. Berrien. I'll see you in the next story.